Vi kommer snart att byta till engelska och vi är glada att ha AAC Clyde Space här på ProHearings igen. Ett av våra favoritbolag. Och ni kom med en kanonrapport igår som gjorde aktien absolut till dagens vinnare, tror jag, på de flesta mått mätt i en ganska sur marknad. Men kanske inte tillräckligt ändå mot det resultatet. Men innan vi svänger över till Glasgow, som är där, snart där, så ska ni få träffa AAC Clyde Space nya kommunikations- och IR-chef. Presentera dig.
Tack så jättemycket. Jätteroligt att vara här. Kort om mig. Håkan Trebell heter jag. Har varit, jag tror att det är 7 veckor på bolaget just nu. Så jag vet inte om jag riktigt är varm i kläderna än. Men lite varmare än jag var för några veckor sedan i alla fall. Jättekul att vara här. Vi hade en jättefin rapport igår som finns att ta några exemplar där ute om det är någon som vill. Jag är här, Louis i Glasgow. Ni får jättegärna hälsa på mig efteråt och prata förstås. Med detta tänkte inte jag prata mer om mig, utan jag tänkte leave the floor, microphone and webcast to our CEO, Luis Gomez. Please.
Thank you very much, Håkan. My apologies, I can't be there with you, but I'll do my best to actually give you a good overview of where we are in the company right now. We presented our results yesterday, so thank you for your time. Let me just share our day presentation. And I hope you can see it. So AAC Clyde Space, so as I say, we are a space company. We build satellites, we design equipment for satellites, and we deliver data for our customers. Effectively, we provide the kind of information that people need to actually do their day-to-day business. And yesterday, we presented our results for 2024, showing a growth on our net sales, a growth of the company within the numbers of our revised guidance, but particularly showing marketing improvement of our EBITDA. And this is part of our journey that we have been on to improve our profitability through both growing our efficiency or improving our efficiency on our day-to-day business, but also ensuring that we are actually looking at other parts of the business, areas of growth that are more profitable, that offer us better return on our investment. And another thing that we also showed yesterday is that for the 3rd year in a row, we have had positive operational cash flow. This is something that for us is a mark of better management of our company and showing the improvement that we have made over the last few years, the ability to keep these going. And very much this comes from our strategy that we have followed over the last few years, but also what we see in the market. So we have made a conscious decision of actually addressing what the market is looking for, what we see are the real needs from society. We don't do technology for the sake of technology. As a company, we do technology for a purpose. And we look at what the world around us is looking for, how we can actually improve people's lives on the day-to-day. And so we have focused our applications both on the hardware we design and sell to our customers, but also on the data that we sell. We have focused very much on things that actually improve the day-to-day for most people. And what we see there, for instance, some of our spacecraft now provide data that is used to manage forests. Others are providing data to manage farms, so to improve how much food we produce, improve yields, reducing the need for fertilizers, for water, for pesticides. We are also providing data to help managing the maritime traffic, to actually understand what people are doing on the ocean, detect illegal activities, but also to help shipping companies become more efficient by reducing the amount of fuel that they use. And other things, for instance, we are developing techniques to help manage offshore wind farms from space. All of these are things that help on our day-to-day lives on Earth, And we have taken the decision to focus on that. And because these are areas that are growing in importance, there is a growing need of data, of information to help activities on Earth, we see a growth of our market. So as a company, we are a company that has quite a long experience on designing equipment for space, on operating satellites in space. We have been doing this now for far more than 20 years. We have parts of the company, we have in the group that have worked in space for about 30 years. In this period, we have launched way more than 35 satellites into space. We are present in 5 different countries, 3 different continents. So we have a big presence in Europe. We also are present in the US and in Africa. We have about 210 employees worldwide, majority of them in Sweden and in the UK. And we own our own constellation of satellites. Currently, we've got 8 operational satellites delivering revenue. We have 2 more undergoing commissioning in space, so they have been launched, and they are now going through their test phase. And then we've got 1 more to launch this year and 3 more to launch next year. And in terms of our organization, we are very much organized as in 3 business lines, reflecting a bit the 3 different businesses that we do. Space products is the original part of our company. We started by building components for other people, so they used to then use them in their own satellites. That is still a very important part of our business. Is a good bedrock for building the rest of the business. We then started doing space missions. We sell entire satellites. We operate them for our customers. We sell it to them. But then in the last few years, we have actually developed our data and services capability. That is, in some cases, customers don't want to own satellites. They don't want to own the capability. They actually want just the data, the information from the satellites. And in that case, we are actually developing our own constellation. We build our satellites, we put them in orbit, and then we sell the data and services. One thing to note is that in the hardware business, you are usually dealing with net margins in the 10-15%, while when you're dealing with data and services, net margins are much higher. They are about 30-40%, in some cases even higher. And what that means is that as we change the mix of our business, our profitability improves. So we are now, data and services is still a fairly small part of our net sales, but actually when it comes to our EBITDA, and when it comes to the money we make, it's a much more important part. So that business already makes an important part of our EBITDA. And this is an area that we see that will grow in the future. We'll grow the entire company. We'll grow the hardware part, so space products and missions, but we also want to grow the data and services. And there we see a big opportunity to become more profitable by growing that part of the business. I'll just give you an idea of the kinds of things we do. So I mentioned that we do ship tracking, but we're also doing Earth observation products. That is images. We take pictures of the Earth. And those images are used for a variety of purposes. But just to give you an example of a service that we are now delivering. Now, we are delivering this still we are having to buy the images because we don't have the satellites to provide these from our own satellites yet. We will have them this year. But what we are doing is selling a service. So we don't sell just images. We actually get the images from satellites, we process them, we extract information, and then we provide that information to our customer. In this case, the customer is Scottish Forestry, and they are responsible for managing forests in Scotland. And one problem they are having is that with climate change, they are saying that certain insect infestations are becoming much worse. There are some insects that now used to die in the cold during the winter. They're not dying. And what that means is that they are damaging trees throughout the country. So they have a problem. They have a problem because to detect these is quite difficult from the ground. And they were using helicopters, what is quite an expensive process to do this. So they were flying over the forest, taking pictures, and then analyzing those pictures. They came to us and asked us, is there a better way? And we said, yes, we have this constellation that will launch in 2025. And that constellation can actually identify individual trees and see how well or how badly those trees are doing. And in that context, what we propose to them is a service where we actually identify areas that are under stress, that they are damaged. And the images you see on this slide, at the bottom of the slide, illustrate that process. So on the left, you have images taken from a satellite in color and near infrared. And then on the right-hand side, the two images are the extracted information. So you see the yellow lines, the polygons, they identify the areas of stress where the trees are under stress. And then on the right, we quantify that. And that information is then passed on to the managers of the forest, and they can go and actually do something about it. They can knock the trees down, burn the bits of the tree that are infested to avoid the propagation of that infestation to the trees. And this is a service that we are contracted to deliver. And based on this service that we did, we now we have a pilot with a North American forestry company that wants to actually use these techniques to manage their forests. And we have quite a lot of interest from those companies for this product. So this is an example of things that we are doing. This is not just about taking pictures, it's then do something with them. And at the end of last year, we announced that we acquired a company called Spacemetric, based in Sollentuna. And Spacemetric is a company that extracts this kind of information. It can do this at scale. So they have developed the tools and the techniques over the years to grab large amounts of images from space, make them look like the images on the left-hand side, and then prepare them for analysis so that we can then actually run the algorithms we need to extract this information. This is an area that is growing. We apply the same techniques to the farming, to agriculture. You can apply them to agriculture. So this new constellation will deliver also data to agriculture. And currently, this is a market that globally is worth about $1 billion a year. And we actually want to grow on that. We believe that there is quite a lot of potential of growing that market as we need to improve the way we produce food. But this is just an example. We do many of the things in our business. And as I said, a lot of our focus, particularly in the last few years, has been in going from just growing the company, but growing well, that is becoming profitable. So a lot of our focus is in how can we actually improve our business to make it more efficient. So particularly on our hardware business, we have done a lot of work over the last 2-3 years to actually make it very efficient. That's reducing costs, increasing our margins on that business. But then we are also adding new business. We are adding data and services where profitability is much bigger, much higher. So the objective is to change the mix of our business so that we actually become even more profitable. So we are attacking it in 2 ways. One, reducing our cost, increasing our efficiency. The other one is bolting into our business new businesses that actually deliver more profit for us. And I'd just like to talk now about the big objectives that we have for this year. We have a few things that we are doing right now that are key throughout 2025. The first one, as I mentioned, and I already mentioned this, is next generation EO. This is new Earth observation constellation. 4 satellites. We're building 4 satellites. The first one will be launched later this year. This is designed to provide a service to agriculture and forestry industries. And the reason why we chose these is because we identified a gap in the market. There is an area that is not being particularly well serviced. We could do that at a good price point that actually is competitive with lower quality facilities or systems. And so we can actually deliver a dedicated, high-quality service to our customers at a price point that is very competitive. So we are building this constellation. You might have heard me refer to it with a different name. We are changing the name. We will announce that later this year. We are changing the name of this constellation. But what we will do is deliver a service to customers around the world in the Earth observation domain. And this comes on the back of the work we did with expansion. The expansion program with the European Space Agency and the UK Space Agency. From the techniques and the technology that we developed under that program, we are now able to actually deliver these 4 satellites. Then we've got Inflection. And recently, we announced Inflection. Inflection is a new program that we are delivering this year, or that we are starting to deliver this year, for maritime domain awareness. This is where we are actually bringing together the different techniques and technologies that we have developed on the maritime domain to monitor our oceans, and particularly one that we have done that is VDES. VDES is VHF data exchange system. It's a follow-on to the existing system called AIS, Automatic Identification System, that currently from satellites is very much listen-only mode. You've got these satellites going around the world listening to messages that ships around the world are transmitting. Vessels, boats, when they go around, they transmit these signals saying who they are, where they are, what they are doing. But currently, satellites just listen. VDES allows for communication. It allows you to, from a satellite, to communicate back to the vessel, to the ship. And that is important because it opens a whole new range of services, from identification, from communication, broadcast of information, but also about things like e-navigation. It allows us to actually create digital navigation systems around the world on a very reliable, low-cost system for the ship owner. So, with the support of the European Space Agency, and particularly of the UK Space Agency, we are going to develop a coordinated system with partners that will use other satellite systems to extract information from synthetic aperture radar images, signal intelligence, and we will create tools to actually fuse all of that information to provide actionable information to coast guards, navies, commercial operators. The objective is that by 2028, 2027, 2028, we'll be able to actually have a coordinated system that delivers a service globally. Now, we are building these on the success of EMIR-1. EMIR-1 is a spacecraft we built in Uppsala. You see a picture there of that satellite. It is the first satellite, to the best of our knowledge, to deliver VDES service from space. So we have been able to communicate with the satellite, send it back, and our partners Saab and Orbcom have been working with us on developing that technology. So we believe that right now we have the first satellite, this new system, in orbit. We have another one that we launched last month that is now undergoing commissioning, and we are building these for other partners. So this puts us in a unique position to actually grow this market. This is a big program. We have big supporters, and we have important partners working with us on this. This is something that we will work through this year and start delivering on it. And finally, we've got a big program that we are working from our Gothenburg company and also in Uppsala, the follow-on to the Arctic weather satellite that we launched earlier. And that satellite has delivered quite good results to the EUMETSAT, or is being used by EUMETSAT to the results for improving weather prediction and weather forecasting. That's an extremely important thing when we say that the climate around us is changing quite quickly and in unpredictable ways. So we want to actually improve the way we can forecast weather. And to do that, we need more satellites, we need a constellation, and EPS Sterna is that constellation. The constellation of 16 to 20 satellites that will be owned by the European Meteorological Satellite Organization. And we are the suppliers of the payload, the instrument that actually does the work. We work with OHB in Sweden to deliver a system that will be operational in the next few years. And this is a big contract. We have said in the past that we expect this to be upwards from 60 million euros. But this is something that currently we expect to be contracted later this year. So EUMETSAT still has to go through several decision points, but they are very optimistic about it, and their belief is that they will be able to contract later this year. And we are ready to deliver that. So these are three major milestones that we have in 2025. Of course, in addition to all of these, we are doing our normal work of delivering products, delivering satellites, and delivering data to our customers around the world. So just as a summary, just to say that we are a growing business, but we are growing well. So we are growing in the direction of being profitable. We are making quite a lot of efforts to become more efficient, but also to expand our business into areas that have high profitability. We see a big opportunity to be a game changer. We are very well positioned in the market. We can actually provide not just data, but we can provide also the actionable information from it. And particularly in the Earth observation and on the maritime domain, we are very well placed to actually be key players and to grow the company quite substantially in the coming years. So I will finish here. Thank you very much. I will let us now go on some questions. I presume there are some questions. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Luis. Can you release the slide share? So we get the both of us on the big screen here. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good enough. Good enough. Speaking of yesterday and what it leads to tomorrow, this was very low key, so I'll say it for you. This was not rehearsed. It looks like it's rehearsed, but it's not. Your Q4 was plus 102%. The Q4 came in at 140 million, and that pushed the year-on-year result sales for AAC Clyde Space up 28%. So solid result, and I know some of the shareholders and people have been with you for a long time in many instances, and they're a bit frustrated. It looked like it happened, and it pushed you up quite a bit. Even so, right now, AAC Clyde Space is at a price-sales ratio of below 1. I'm just mentioning this. There's another space tech company based in Aalborg that have been on ProHearings. Looks simpler. They're at 2.2. So there's quite a ways to go, and I have questions that have been emailed to ProHearings here, and they go along these lines. Why isn't it happening? It's hard to say, but congratulations. So can you guide us some on this very nice all-time high result for 2024 for AAC Clyde Space, and also what you don't do is there is no pie chart in the presentation saying this is VDES, this is that. Is it called inflation? What?
Inflection. We call it inflection. It's the spelling isn't great, but it's the name.
It turned out like French to me, but then you're in Glasgow, so yeah. But anyway, what can you say about the parts that make up these impressive sales numbers for you for 2024?
So, as I say, the bulk of our revenue was still in products and missions. So in satellites and products that we sell, that's roughly that makes the major part of our business. But the substantial, a growing part of our business in terms of net sales is data and sales, data and services, and those will be around about a third. A quarter, a third of our revenue, of our net sales, data and services, and then the rest will be hardware, and that hardware is even more or less between the two. So data and sales is where we have a big opportunity to grow because the profitability there is much higher than on the other ones, on the hardware. Yeah. So our objective going through 2025 and 26, 27, particularly things like inflection. With our Earth observation constellation is to grow that data and services. Not forgetting hardware, that will still continue to grow, but we actually expect to grow substantially our data and services.
Yeah. So if we take, I kind of get why you leave us a bit in the dark or up in space as to a pie chart, because if you give it, everybody will ask for more. It's happening all the time. But at the same time, like if I ask about VDES, how much was VDES in the invoicing for 2024?
VDES at this stage, VDES is not yet a revenue generating. It's not a revenue generating business. VDES is a new system we are developing. AIS, though, the Maritime service, accounts for a substantial part of our data and service sales. So we don't usually disclose the exact numbers. It's commercial sensitive. If we say that, people will actually. We do have competitors, but I can say that the majority or a substantial part of our data and services number is coming from VDES.
Yes, and that
from AIS. Sorry, from AIS. VDES is the next generation that we will be delivering.
Yes,
in the next years.
So that's the next technology, and the old one is a big part of AAC invoicing right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
For data and services.
Yeah, and then the same or even more so goes for what we call inflection. That's tomorrow's as well.
Inflection, yes. Inflection is effectively the implementation of the VDES system. So inflection will allow us to actually build that system, and it's not just about putting satellites in orbit and selling data. With inflection, we go further. We actually have a range of services that we'll be delivering. So we are. You can think of these as more of a. You are not just buying a computer. With that, you are buying all the services that come with a computer. We are supplying to our customers internet access and all the word processors and all the spreadsheets they need. That's the kind of thing that we will be doing with inflection.
Yeah. Okay. So you have a lively shareholder group and a discussion. It's on Discord. You might have looked into it or not, but a lot of the shareholders there have been there a long time. And from one of that group's participants, here's his question. Do you think the margins for Q4 are gonna stand up over the coming quarters? Will they be better? Was that exceptionally high? What can you say?
I think, and I've said this before, ideally, we would only be judged on a yearly basis. As we saw in quarters, we have quarters that are better, quarters that are worse. And so the average for the year is something that we expect to achieve. Now, it is true that EBITDA was particularly high, so we would probably say that not necessarily something that we can maintain all that time, but it's our target, is what we are trying to achieve. But we have better quarters and worse quarters. So throughout the year, we will see some variation. It's always that. But our objective for the next year is double-digit growth, is to continue to have a healthy positive EBITDA and a positive operational cash flow. Yeah. Those are the objectives that we have for the year.
I think you said solid double-digit.
Solid double-digit growth.
Yeah. Okay.
I said double-digit growth and solid EBITDA. That's actually what.
I'm just teasing you. Sorry, Lewis. But that's you're known for those who've been along for the ride for a number of years. They know you to be AAC Clyde Space, the company. You're known to be optimistic, but it seemed to have changed, and now you say double-digit. But if I counted, you acquired a Swedish company, Space Metric, in fourth quarter, and they added 4.3 million. So, like we do it, extrapolate and put it in there for 2025. That alone would add 20 million for 2025 if their quarters are even.
Yes, but we expect to grow double digits. So there is a mixture of businesses. There are of course the effect of an acquisition, but there is also the fact that we are growing. We expect to sell more, and we expect to have more contracts, particularly on data and services.
Yeah. Okay. So at some point in the future, will there be a pie chart dividing?
Yes, there is.
That's fantastic
actually,
news, Louis.
It's actually something that we want to do. Actually, we report increasingly in terms of business lines rather than actually on sites. So that is something that you will see.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm pretty sure that there are those pie charts. Might not be a pie chart, might be a bar chart, but they do exist somewhere in our reports already.
Yeah. Okay, so now I'm going to shoot off 3 more questions mailed in from they appear to be long-term shareholders in AAC because they're quite specific. We touched on this. The VDES project is set to be concluded by Trafikverket in Sweden 28th of February. That's in 1 week's time. And we talked about that, but here comes the question. What does the future look like for AAC VDES, and what growth can we expect?
So as I mentioned, so that experiment will end. That satellite now goes into revenue production. So it's basically it will be a commercial satellite, will be used over the next few years. In terms of VDES in general, as I mentioned, inflection is the way that we are implementing the VDES constellation for the future. Our objective is to have a constellation of those satellites. We work with our partners in the AOS consortium. The AOS consortium is a group of 3 companies, ourselves, Saab, and Orbcomm, and we work together with them in setting up a future strategy. But in parallel to that, we are working on the inflection program. So that will drive and guide our strategy for the next few years. It's the construction of these global maritime domain awareness constellation. This is a system using VDES as the core technology for communication, but bringing together different techniques and different technologies so that we can know where every ship is, and we can make sure that navigating on the oceans is much safer for everyone.
Yeah. Here's a specific question. What's the real reason for the dual listing in the US, and will you remove it? This person claims that that listing isn't used very much by shareholders, so I guess it's a money-saving tip.
Yes, and that's a discussion that I've had on a few occasions internally, of course. We do not have many trades these days. There was an objective when we set up the dual listing. But the fact is we still have shareholders in the US, and we still have people that use that listing. They might not actually be trading on the OTC list, but we believe that they are actually trading directly through other means, but they still use the OTC listing as their source of information, their source of data about the company. So in that sense, it is considered to be useful for us. It is something that we see if we want to be present in that market. Having a listing in a stock exchange like OTC helps us in reaching US investors that they might then actually buy and sell their shares in different means. But they will be more confident because they actually have that information. It's difficult to actually enter the US market if you are not going through one of those listings. It's unlikely that most of those investors will have any information about the AAC Clyde space. So we believe that it's still useful to maintain that listing.
Okay. Time flies. We have time for 1 or 2 more short questions. Anyone in the audience? Yeah. Up for some English?
Can you clarify the global market for the surveillance of farming and forestry as one, and then the marine sector? What is the figure?
What is the figure in terms of size of the market?
Yes.
So the market for Earth observation is generally considered, by 2030 is expected to be about $1 billion a year. with a big upside in terms of the introduction of precision farming. Now, we are not aiming that we are going to take a huge chunk of that market. We believe that the addressable market for the data that we are providing is somewhere in the order of about $100 million per year for the area that we are targeting, and of which we expect to have a percentage of that market. We are one of the bigger players on that one. The maritime market is estimated. We actually did some analysis a few years back with an external consultant looking at, or an external consultancy looking at the size of the market. It's expected that by 2030, that the market for VDES and AIS combined, because they will come together, will be somewhere in the $200–250 million per year, of which we expect to be one of the 2 or 3 big suppliers, because by then we expect to be one of the key providers of VDES services. So that gives you an idea of the size of the market.
Okay. Louis, we could stand here for 1 more hour, but I hope we can continue this conversation, and it will be really exciting to watch your quarterly reports going forward. And I'll say this, the long-time shareholders are frustrated, but you are delivering. That was impressive Q4. And also, as I said to another company, these are tough times for listed companies because, 5 years ago, everything was great, everything was a buy, and nowadays, many things that should be noted aren't. So keep up the good work, and it will be exciting to watch you go forward. Thank you, AAC Clyde Space. Thank you, Louis. You get an applause.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you all.